And good morning, everybody. I am Pat Knaeur. I am the host of the Everyday Riches Show. This morning, we are here with Steve Eriksen. And I don't know if you know Steve or not. Steve is a powerful guy, somebody to be reckoned with. So I want to give you a little bit of insight about him. And if you don't know me, of course, I'm Pat Knaeur. I am the CEO of Corner Office University. It's a business and coaching, a business coaching and consultancy business. I like to say that I am the ultimate success hack. So, but that's me. I want to talk about Steve, though, because Steve's here today. And oh my gosh, you're so excited. I'm so excited, Steve, to have you here. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am. And you out there, when you hear what Steve is up to, you're going to be excited too. So let me tell you a little bit about Steve to start. He is the midlife solopreneur. I love that. He quit his six-figure job in the middle of a pandemic to help other solopreneurs get more customers, clients, and patients. Steve's desire for being a successful solopreneur was fueled by his father's bankruptcy in the early 1970s. Very painful when that happens. We'll go into that a little bit more because it happens a lot. And Steve discovered that his 2-year MBA simply taught him to be a good corporate employee rather than a successful entrepreneur, and started a now 20-year-long quest to find the most effective sales and marketing techniques for solopreneurs and small businesses. After writing hundreds of successful ads and having seen from the inside what it makes to be a successful 6 to 7 figure launch from both a marketing and technology perspective, Steve is now bringing his knowledge, experience, and expertise directly to solopreneurs who want to get better results. Steve developed his trusted advisor methodology after seeing other solopreneurs literally being conned out of money for high ticket programs. Oh my God, painful, painful, painful. We can talk about that all day long. It promised the world, but the solopreneur simply was not in a position to benefit from the program. After Steve experienced several high-ticket strategy sessions, which were no more than disguised as hard sell sessions, Steve developed the GIVE, G-I-V-E framework for being generous, being invested with your clients, give value, and have empathy for your clients. Totally, totally, totally on board with you. With his heart-centered approach of being a trusted advisor and using the GIVE framework, Steve's business grew to include 4 and 5 figure clients within the first 2 months of quitting his job. Steve, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you so much, Pat. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my knowledge so I can help your listeners as well.
Fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit about your GIVE program, and I'll tell you why. I personally have spent, I'm embarrassed to say it, over $200,000 on products and services offered by a lot of people. And some, I wouldn't even say necessarily a lot of people. I mean, the average price point that I paid was somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 for a program. It's typical. And, people are teaching it based on the results that they have done, but they're not necessarily on what they can give to you as a customer. They don't have the flexibility and nimbleness to be able to help you get results. Have you found that also?
I absolutely found that. Some people are good at executing, but not very good at teaching. And more importantly, they are often very rigid and saying, this is what I did and you should do the same. And we're all different. That's why the E and empathy in my framework comes from. You have to have empathy with the people who are going through the experience because they're not you. And I will actually say that I have only been in business for myself since July, and I've achieved a lot, and I'm doing a lot in January, and I'm not expecting anybody that I coach to get anywhere near to what I am doing and how fast I'm moving, because literally I am one of those people who you could call overnight success, but it's taken me 20 years to get here. It is a lot of hard work and understanding and being on the sharp end and learning from other people that has made me go, okay, I'm now doing it for myself. And yeah, I can race because I know how to race and do this. But most people who come in need to get the basics in place. And that's what I'm finding is that it's the very fundamentals of how you're actually doing a business, how you're communicating, what is your offer. It's the essentials that people are missing. And when they go into the higher end coaching programs, a lot of these coaching programs are aimed at people who have the basics in place. To give you an example, and this was my first exposure to somebody who's like tearing their hair out and they just couldn't execute the program. I met this lady in January. She'd gone to the internet marketing cruise with Michael Same's crew. She had spent up towards $10,000 to make that happen for her, she said. And then she joined the Jeff Walker product launch formula and paid somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 to join that program. She had all of these people saying to her, yeah, we can promote your program when it's ready. But she didn't have a product to launch.
Right.
No, she literally didn't have a product. She came to us and said, can you help me? And I went, yes, I can help you. Like, let's look at your budget and what's going to take to make this happen. She said, I don't have any money left. I'm literally about to go bankrupt.
Absolutely. In fact, there is one guy out there, I won't say his name, but he literally, in his programs and in his, all of his marketing, he talks about it's okay to go bankrupt. It's okay to spend everything on sales and marketing stuff to be able to get your business up off the ground, because that's what it's going to take. And if you go bankrupt, no big deal. You can start all over again. I don't know about you, but I think that's kind of the wrong way to go. And I think that a lot of these higher end programs, it's not even just higher end programs, it's also some lower end programs. They don't have the ability, the owners or the facilitators of it don't have the ability to teach what they know. They know it instinctively because they've done it, and if they've learned it, they've forgotten the process of learning it.
Yeah.
So having coaches and mentors who can teach you the process of learning it, and not just how to launch a product, but how to run a business, right?
Yeah.
So many, especially solopreneurs, don't have those fundamentals of how to even manage a business. They don't understand how to read a financial statement. They don't understand the basics of marketing. That marketing is the process of getting people to understand who you are and what you offer, so they know if they want to do business with you. I'm sure you're finding that as well.
Oh, totally. I mean, so here's how I get a lot of my clients. It's actually when I go out and saying, hey, I help you with your technology. If you're tearing your hair out because you can't sort out your technology and you don't know how to get your lead magnet out and things like that, or send a mail to your list, come and speak to me. I'll talk to you for 45 minutes, give you advice on what you need to do. Invariably, their marketing is not up to scratch. They don't understand what the target market here. And here's the challenge. I mean, when you're actually doing a Google search and saying ideal client, what you're getting up is, hey, your ideal client, you should describe it like this. He is a car salesman and he's earning $45,000 a year and he's got these interests. And I go, okay, so what's actually his problem? What is it you solve for him? Right. So when I go and look at, am I actually going to solve a problem for somebody? What is the problem I will solve? What my ideal client is somebody who has the problem that I solve, and they want the solution that I deliver. Right? Doesn't matter where you live, where you work, how old you are. If you have that problem and you want my solution, then it makes you an ideal client.
Absolutely.
So, and most people I speak to have no idea of who their ideal client actually is. They don't know what problem they're solving, and they don't know what the solution is that people want. Right. I'd like to just talk a little bit about what you said about people not being able to teach, and they don't know what they know or forgotten what they learned. So here's the thing about me. None of what I am teaching is something that came naturally to me, right? I actually did my 2-year MBA because I didn't want to go through a bankruptcy like my dad did. And I can tell you, it's never the right way of setting out to saying it's okay to be bankrupt. You need to avoid bankruptcy because it really messes up your credit later. And later on, it's when you need credit, when you want to build faster than you can normally do. That's when you need to go out and seek credit. And if you're bankrupt, then you're having a challenge. So I would say avoid bankruptcy. Anyway. Well, so my story is that my father went bankrupt when I was around 6-7 years old, back in the early 70s. And in Norway at the time, he stayed in bankruptcy for 10 years. He then, anything he earned over a certain amount of money, they would take 95% of what he earned and pay towards the debt. And he was in a very small community. He didn't have the opportunity to earn lots of extra money. So we grew up. I grew up till I was like 17 years old, knowing that he was bankrupt, and celebration when he came out of it. So I did my MBA because I didn't want to become bankrupt. I didn't want to fail. I started a business. I had 7 staff working for me. When I sold my business, I got around 5 figures for it. Now, other people, I found out later, sold their business and got 6 and 7 figures. And I went like, okay, I didn't fail, but I failed to succeed. That really bugged me. So in 2000, I started studying what is effective marketing. And as I say, none of this came naturally to me. I started looking at how do we use language? How do we connect with people? How do we use words that persuade? How do we do this with integrity as well? Because I never liked the approach that somebody does of like just hard selling, as we talked about before. To me, it's got to be alignment in every step of the way. Yes. And then I have worked for other people. I worked for myself in that period of time. And I've been able to use a lot of these techniques and see what's effective from other people. And so everything I have learned the hard way by actually studying, reading books, going through courses. And when I then meet other people who don't have that knowledge, I share that knowledge. I share what I've learned. I share what I'm applying and using myself and how effective that is. And that's really what I do.
So what's one tip that you could give to a solopreneur today who has gone out there, they don't have their marketing straight, they don't understand who their market really is, they don't understand, as Grace Lever calls it, I love it, she says, it's the ice cream, sitting on the floor with ice cream in the middle of the night moment. You know, where you've just completely melted down and you're sitting on the floor crying and you get a dish of ice cream, or you're sitting actually out of a carton of ice cream, just trying to figure out how you're going to make it next. What's a great tip for that?
Okay, so the great tip to that is really understand the emotional and mental state of the person that you're selling to. And when I say the person, I don't mean the person in front of you, I mean your ideal client. And let me give you a specific example of this. One of the very first clients I had was a lady who said, I am targeting young women, so 40 plus young here, who no longer have a husband. And I said, okay, could you please explain what that means? And she went, okay, people who are going through a divorce or become widows. And I said, okay, let's take a look at this. What is it you're really talking to? Who are you talking to? When you're talking to a widow, you're talking to somebody who's had a loss and they're bereft and they're grieving. And their mental state is all about how to try to cope now that the person they were with has disappeared. But when you're talking up to a divorcee, what is she dealing with? It's often an ex-husband who's cheated on her. She's going through divorce courts. She is trying to get the husband to take the kids for a weekend. You know, all of these things, they're very different issues from what a divorcee, from what a widow goes through. So when you're looking, okay, I'm serving people who no longer have a husband and I'm going to help them, you're actually looking at 2 very different target markets. So what problem are you solving? For who are you solving it? And what is the mental state? Because when you're looking at the mental state of a divorcee and a widow, they're completely different. And when they're completely different, your marketing changes. Everything you do in your messaging changes. When you have a private Facebook group with all clients, the languaging within there changes. So you need to be crystal clear on what problem are you solving and what are all of their emotions around that problem and what solution do you want to perform for them? What is the transformation they're going to have? And when you have clarity in that, you are way ahead of the game.
You also have to consider the age as well, because a 25-year-old who's lost a spouse or lost a job or is getting through a divorce is very different than a 65-year-old.
Absolutely.
They're in 2 different places. So the way that you market that is going to be 2 different, completely 2 different ways. The languaging is different. The location of where you put your placements of ads or marketing pieces is different. It's just a whole different animal, right?
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the traditional demographic that you're getting up when you're doing a Google search on a client avatar, that's more about where do you find that person? So as you're saying, if you're saying young widow, then you're thinking 40, I think it was 40 to 60, roughly the age group that she was targeting at. And then you're able to say, okay, this is where I'll go looking. If you were set to say, I'm looking for 25 to 40, you might go to the PTA. because they're likely to be a mother. You know, if you're looking for 40 plus, they probably, well, they might have older children. They're typically not involved in PTA at this stage, so you would go elsewhere. And that's what the typical client avatar will do for you. But when you understand their emotions, that's when you're getting your messaging right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's great. So that's some of the work that you do with your clients, right? Is helping them to figure out where, what the actual market is. So let's also talk a little bit about your trusted advisor program, your methodology. What is that all about?
Right. So what this is based on is seeing what this lady went through who didn't have a product to launch. And then I went into a couple of strategy sessions because I was, my father passed away in December. He had Alzheimer's for a few years. Thank you. And I reflected on his life. I reflected on my life, what it achieved. And then I started saying, but I actually have a breadth of skills. I am very well versed in server management and programming and marketing and business and lots of different things. So there's so many routes I could go, digital marketing and everything. And I went into a couple of strategy sessions, but they are strategy sessions. They were hard sales sessions where they are really digging deep into my emotional pain of where I am at, where I want to be, where I'm going to be in the future if I don't make changes. And then their strategy was to join the $10,000 program. And they gave me nothing that convinced me that they could help sort out my problem. They couldn't, there was no information because they literally went from, you're in pain, we can solve the pain, join the $10,000 program. And then the rest of it was pitching the $10,000 program. And that made me very dissatisfied. I could easily see that my dad would have so gone in for this. This is what the lady back in January went for. And then I met other people in the same position. And one day I was actually at an event called JVX, where I met a lot of people who are doing affiliate marketing. And they were confused about the messaging. They were confused about the technology. And I just had an epiphany really during that event that I can help these people. I know exactly what they're missing. And I know what the foundational elements that they are missing when I'm listening to them. They can't explain what they're doing or how they're doing it or anything. And I decided to put together this program. And I built it around the 4 concepts of, so the GIVE framework, as you mentioned, being very generous. Whatever you do, be generous, give freely to people. And then you're invested in their success, right? If you're not invested in their success, but in your own success, it is noticeable because you will focus on the money. You'll focus on the conversion. You need to be invested in their success. Even if they don't buy, when they walk out of that strategy session, they should leave that strategy session being one step further ahead in making a success out of their business.
Always.
Right? Mm-hmm. Always. Because that's how people will come back later if they're not ready to buy yet.
Right.
And you give value. There's no point in being generous and being invested if you don't give proper value in everything you do. So give them high value elements, things that are powerful, not just a small tweak, but actually something that will change the direction of what they're thinking about and how they're thinking about it and make a leap in the business. And then have empathy, understand their situation. And this is also to do with your marketing. When you understand what they're actually going through and what they have to deal with, you can better be able to help them. And using those principles, I put together a program. And that program is all about what is your target market? What is it, the solution that you're providing? What's the transformation? How do you then communicate with them using lead magnets? How do you communicate with them in strategy sessions? How do you sell them into a program? But what I teach is that you are building a tribe. I don't tend to go out and use the word tribe very much, but essentially you're building a tribe where you are the leader in front. You're not sitting above them and dictating. You're not like elevated above them and you know best or anything like that. You're down in the trenches and you're doing it and you're leading them by example and guiding them forward. That is the whole purpose of my Trusted Advisor framework. Because when you do that, when you give, then people are sitting in front of you. Instead of you having to do a hard push on sales, they'll turn around afterwards and saying, how can I work with you? You know, they'll come to you and saying, I love what you're saying. You are so what I need to help me and be my coach. What is the next step for us to take? And in fact, all of my sales are in exactly that way, that people are telling me, hey, I need you, please help me.
So you made a lot of changes this year. I mean, you walked away from your job. What's the biggest epiphany you've had this year?
Oh, as I said, when I was at this event back in May, it was the epiphany. I can help these people. These are my people. I'm one of you guys. You are like me, been struggling. You're not figured this quite out yet. And I had my epiphany that I can actually help all of you. That for me is the biggest, I finally found my tribe, because there's so many things that I've done in the past, but I've never been passionate about any of them. And this one I'm passionate about.
So just as a point of reference, what were you doing before you started this? What was your background? And well, the MBA.
Yeah, so back in 1996 to 98, for instance, I set up and created an internet service provider. Back when we had dial-up modems, and I was sitting there with a bank of dial-up modems, 7 staff, and building that. Later on, for instance, 2004 to 2007, I ran a small directory of local advertisers. So we'd go around to all the local shops and your car garages and dry cleaners and everything, get them to advertise in my guide, and we distributed, my wife and I, to 8,000 local households. And I wrote hundreds of ads during that time and really got to test a lot of the things that I had read about and how effective they actually were. And last 6 years, I joined a company. Her name is Mary Morrissey. She is a spiritual self-development expert and also does life coaching certification programs. Right. I joined 6 years ago as the tech assistant to the marketing guy. And the company grew from like 35 staff to 100 staff in that last 6 years. And when I finished, I was the chief technology officer with 7 staff working for me. And yeah, so it's become a really big company. So I was responsible for all of the landing pages, all of the web internal systems, the customer relationship management system, making sure everything worked together with my team.
So Steve knows tech. You need tech, get Steve. Steve knows tech. Yeah, that's great. What is the biggest change you'd like to see happen, not only in your life, but also in the world in the next year?
Well, the biggest change I think I would like to see happen is that it's a great question. It really is making me think. For me, I'm passionate about this market. And the biggest change would be that other people are following up and not focusing on converting people who actually can't use the program. That would be the most big thing. You have no idea how many people I met who can't use the program that they've gone into and can't get the refund because it took them too long to realize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And a lot of programs will give like a 30-day, not a lot of them, but some of them will give you a 30-day refund policy. And even then, most of the time, that's not long enough to know if that's something that, will actually work for you. I mean, I know that one of the things that I ended up doing this year is I started giving a double your investment back guarantee. So they know they're going to make money working with me. And I'm sure that you do something along the same way. You do something to make sure they're going to make money with you, because otherwise, why not? And so many companies just don't do that.
No, absolutely. It's an interesting one about like double your money or money back guarantee, because it's very difficult to make sure that people do what they're supposed to do. So here is what I focus on. I teach you how to fish. I will give you the fish if that's what you want, but I'm teaching you how to fish. Because if you don't understand how to fish, you're relinquishing the control of a major part of your business. You don't have to execute it, but you have to understand it.
You bet. Absolutely. Yeah. You should always, anything that you are hiring somebody to do, you should know how to do yourself, even if you don't do it on a regular basis, because otherwise you don't know if they're doing the job properly, if they're carrying it out, and you don't understand the metrics that go along behind it, because business is math.
Business is math, definitely. But you don't need to worry about the math even. You just need to understand the strategy overall and look at the numbers without understanding the math. So here's the thing. If you relinquish control and you have somebody else to help you, at some stage, that person will no longer be working with you. because you are paying, and they might retire, they might change direction or something. And immediately they do, you will go, okay, what did they do? And now I have to find somebody to replace them. And the new person will go and come in and say, I don't understand what they did, and everything will change. And you have a big challenge on your hand.
Yeah.
So what I focus on is making sure you understand what you need to do. Now, here's the thing. I can do a lot of those things for you if you want me to.
Right.
But you better understand what I'm doing. You need to understand the impact on your business and what that means for you. That is the key thing that I teach. So, in fact, I'm doing a few events in January. Here's the thing. People say that I'm moving very, very fast. And yes, for a beginner, I'm moving very, very fast. But I have 20 years of experience and knowledge in the field, which enables me to move very fast. And I'm not expecting everybody else to do the same by any means. And so next year, I'm doing 4 different events. I am hosting a giveaway where people can give away gifts, lead magnets, etc., to promote their own business. I'm also hosting the Solopreneur Accelerator Summit, which is a way of helping solopreneurs just take one step further in their business. I did one in September and got great reviews from it being really practical and useful information on the summit. I am doing a challenge end of January, and then leads me to a 3-day event. And at that 3-day event, I teach the basics of client attraction.
How fun.
Right? Yeah. And just like really understanding what does it mean to attract clients and how do you do it? And that will then lead into my group coaching program, which is a year-long program teaching you all the essentials, all the basics of everything you need to know to run a business successfully. That is my purpose. That is my key. I want you to understand how to run a business successfully. Even if you don't execute it, at least you understand it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I can give everybody a warning out there, never build your business on somebody else's platform. I'm sure you agree with that 100%.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, you need to control your own platform.
Business can go right down with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Steve, this has been great. So do you have a giveaway or something for our listeners?
I do. I just put the link there in the chat to you, Pat, so you can put that on out there as well.
Yes.
So this is my client attraction roadmap, and it describes the basic steps that you need to understand if you're doing any kind of coaching, consulting. It explains basically it's the steps in my course of how do you get your messaging done, what you need to consider with your messaging, and then how do you attract them into your funnel and how do you convert them later on. That's the key elements of what I teach. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, it was so great having you here today. I'm so glad that you were able to make it, and that gosh, there's so many golden nuggets here for everybody. So if you want to reach out to Steve, I'll put his contact information for you. Of course, he is on Facebook. You can always reach out to him through Facebook. And I'll put the link in for his giveaway. And Steve, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome, Pat. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you. And I hope what I've said is a little bit useful to your audience as well.
Thank you.